You all know that we have been working on a series of understanding the journey that Jesus walked in the last 3 years of his life, which is when he took his message to Israel and to his people. And so I know the last couple of Sundays I've been kind of teachy. Have I been teachy at you a little bit? And when I get teachy, I kind of go over time. So I would like to say I'm not going to be that way today. I don't know. So we're going to flow with it. But I am now going to speak to you today about Palm Sunday and his last week. And I love his hands because it is a story and it reminds us of the humanity. When we talk of Jesus all the time, we speak about him as Son of God, and we focus on his divinity. The fact that he could heal, the fact that he read people's minds. He was a psychic of beyond psychic. He was love. He was all those things beyond the physical. He was divine. And yet we never really look at the physical, do we? We never really realized that he was still a man. He still ate. He still walked. And so I will not cry. But as we go to Palm Sunday, we're looking at this man facing the last week of his life. Can you imagine that everything has led to this moment? His whole life, his entire 33 years has led to this moment. And he's walking in on a Sunday morning knowing that he will not walk out. Knowing that this is the time, this is the week, it is D-Day now. And we see his humanity as he's moving through that, and I love him for it. We see him reaching to the people in a way that he has not done. We see him striving to get them to hear him, like shaking them a little bit. Hear me, hear what I'm saying to you. So now that I'm done with all that, I'm going to walk you through it, and I will be not crying when I do. So we all know the traditional story, and the Aquarian shares with us as well. He knows this is time, and it is Passover. So all the Jews, all faithful Jews are called to the temple if they can get there to celebrate Passover. And on Palm Sunday, he sends for a donkey, because he's going to ride the donkey in to Jerusalem. And most of us don't realize, we go, yeah, that's cool, ride a donkey. That is the most dishonoring thing to do. No priest, no teacher, no one of high estate would ever get on a donkey, much less ride into the city on a donkey. So he is consciously coming in humility. He is consciously saying, I am not putting myself on a throne here. I'm coming in ceremoniously. Yes, it was very ceremoniously. His disciples were around him. His followers were around him. It was a big time in Jerusalem. Everybody was there. And it was not with, yes, I'm here, but it was with such humility. And it says that the children start calling him king. Hail the king, son of David, hail the king. And in the past, when people would call him king, he would say, I'm not the king. Only God is king. This time he didn't shut them up. He didn't say be quiet. And they put the palms in front of which is why we call it Palm Sunday. They cut palms and put them in front of the horse, the donkey, as he rode in. The priest got very upset. And the priest said to him, Master, Rabbi, you need to stop these people. They're making way too much noise. They're celebrating, they're screaming, they're hollering. And do you remember what Jesus said to the priest? He said, if I shut them up, the very rocks will cry out. This was a moment when he was saying the divinity of who I am, the energy of God in me is being acknowledged by all of life. He had reached the pinnacle of Christed awareness and Christed expression to the point that all matter would recognize that. And metaphysically we teach, when we're teaching it, that race consciousness, the masses, this was the first moment that race consciousness actually bowed to the Christ. They actually bowed their energy to this man on the donkey, to the Christ. And this is the energy that he brings into Jerusalem, where the people are holding him in a very high space. So he goes immediately to the temple and he heals. He heals. And on Monday, the next day, he goes to the temple and he heals. The first 2 days of Jerusalem, he spends with the common people, and he heals them, and he heals them, and he heals them. And he doesn't necessarily say, do you follow me? Do you believe me? Do you believe my teachings? No. Do you believe God can heal you? He heals them. He gives them what they are capable of receiving. He lifts them up so they can receive higher than that. He went to the people first, and he did not try to change them. He loved them. He loved them and healed them for 2 days. So they may not have fully understood, but they had the faith to receive, and they believed, and they did. They blessed. They knew Spirit had authority over matter, so they could receive the healing. He brought in the great light of the Christ, and they yielded to it. On Sunday and Monday, he healed the people. On Tuesday, he taught the priests. On Wednesday, he stayed with his disciples. He taught them of higher things. He taught them what they needed to know. And that night, he had dinner, and that's when Mary anointed his feet. You all may remember that story with the costly oil. And on Thursday, it was Passover. And he was arrested that night and crucified the next morning. But I want you to see, Sunday and Monday was all about the people. And man, did he hold his tongue all those years with those priests. And on Tuesday, he let them have it. He did not hold his tongue anymore. He let them have it because I can't wake you people up. So I'm going to tell you the truth. Be mad at me all you want. You're going to do what you're going to do. I don't care. But I'm going to tell you the truth of God. And, you know, we go back and we read it. And if you read it out of context, you go, wow, he's being kind of harsh there. Come on, Jesus, pull back. It's like, no. This is his last chance. And he is still human. He's a man. This is his last chance to wake somebody up. I think I would probably have gone off 1 billion times worse than he did. But he didn't go at them. They came at him. And he taught them. But he taught them with a razor's edge. He said, I'm done. No more. This is the truth. This is the truth. And this is the truth. And everything that he told them, we teach in parables. We teach it all the time. We could actually take a month and do each day over a month. What he taught on Monday over a month, what he did on Tuesday over a month. And we do that. We isolate some of these things. But I wanted us to take the broad spectrum. All right. I'm going to walk you through some overviews because I think, are you interested in the overviews of the days? Okay. But do you hear what I'm talking about? You know, it's the last chance. It's the last chance. Okay. What would you say to the disciples on that last chance? What would you say to the people on that last chance? You're not going to hear me anymore. So on the very first day, when he was healing the people on Monday, this is when he did cleanse the temple. He cleansed the temple and he took a clean broom and he swept the bottom of it so that there could be a new foundation to it. And as he was walking to the temple, there was a tree, a fig tree, I believe. And he looked at the tree and he said to the tree, and the disciples are there, he said to the tree, man, you are not bringing forth fruit. You are taking up the soil and you are not doing anything with it. Go back to the earth, be food for other things. And I'm sure the disciples went, what the heck? Holy moly. The next morning, Tuesday, they walked to the temple again and the tree was gone. It was dead. And the disciples were shocked. Master, the tree's dead. Jesus like, yeah, I know. It was already dead. It was not bearing fruit. The tree was already dead. He sent it back so it could rejuvenate. Do you see the edge? I don't got time for this, people. Pay attention. All right. He then, as he's teaching, the priests are at him. They are at him Tuesday. This is when he goes to teach them. And I just wanted to share one of the parables really quickly because in each of these parables is just a wonderful energy for us as well. They were giving him a hard time. They were asking who had authority. They were asking him all these questions, and he was fielding them fine. Boop, 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 boop. Batting it back, no problem. Boop, boop, no problem. And they were getting madder and madder because he had an answer for everything. His answer was always love-based. And then he finally said, you guys are a little pompous. He doesn't say that exactly. And so he tells them a story about people needing to bow their heads down and humble themselves to get into the feast. And he basically tells them, you guys are not capable of doing that. And then he tells a story about a parable. This is a parable. A man had an estate. The man actually planted the vineyard, created the equipment to make wine, and had everything running. And then he left husbandmen, was the term, in charge to run the winery. And when it came time for him to get his share of what had been created during that harvest season, the first person they beat and sent back. He sent another man. They wounded him and left him for dead. They sent another man. This is the owner sending people. I just want my tribute. I'm not trying to take anything away from you guys. I just want my portion. And this man, they put a javelin through his heart and they buried him. And so he said, who shall I send? I'll send my son. I'll send my son. And they won't hurt him. They'll know I'm just coming to get my own. Just a little bit. He sends his son, and then the husbandmen think he is the only heir, this son. If we kill him, then when the guy dies, it's all ours. So this is where they do kill him, by the way. And this is where the parable ends. They kill him and bury him. Jesus didn't go any further with that. But the reality is, he does bring it home to them. But metaphysically, the reality is, this is a parable of choosing matter over spirit. What I have in matter is more important than investing in spirit. You understand? These men did not care about life. They abused life. They did not care about anything but what was the matter in front of, and material substances, matter in front of them, what we call the material world. They did not care giving back a piece of it to the Creator. Now, and I share this with you all the time, if these men had actually run the vineyard and the owner had come back, who would he have met but masters? Men who had learned to become masters, men who had learned to master the vineyard, men who were his equal because he'd given them a chance to be his equal. If they had honored what was given to them. And it was such a beautiful message, not just to the priest, but to all who could hear. We live in this world, why do we not give back? Why do we not want to be a master? Why don't we want to be a master? Why don't we want to show up with our gifts and talents and follow our guidance and take this world that God gave us and become that light? Why don't we want that? Why would we trade our heart for the matter that sustains us? Instead of looking to the one that created it. It was a beautiful parable. All right. To the priest, he said to them, you have killed the messengers of God repeatedly. And they did. The Jewish faith did. And then they'd get mad or get upset. And they'd go bewail the priest or prophet that they'd killed, that their fathers had killed. Oh, we shouldn't have done that, blah, blah. And Jesus says, yeah, you're going to do it to me too. Don't worry about it. So they get really, really, really mad. Really, really, really mad. And then they decide that they have to do something. And he tells them another parable again about the same thing. It's about the king having servants taking advantage. These servants kill people. They don't want the king to come back. And then the king, they're harming life. And then the king goes and kills them. That's karma. You harm life, you will be harmed by life. He's trying to show them. And the king reaches out to the poor people, to the people of the trade, to the people that have no power or authority, and welcomes them in. And this is when he says to them, the kingdom was offered to you. The kingdom was offered to you. It will be snatched away from you. He actually says it will be given to a nation that is not a nation now, to a nation whose language you cannot understand. I always thought that was us. But, so, parable after parable after parable, explaining to the people, explaining to the priests that they are holding a power that does not contain God in it anymore, and that they have sold themselves for this power, that they are not the king or the priest, they are the servants and the husbandmen. So they were not happy about it. So one of them came and said, again, should we pay tribute to Caesar? They're in the temple. And do you remember what Jesus said? Everybody knows this story. Give me a coin. Show me a coin. Whose face is on the coin? Caesar's. And Jesus said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God's. Again, they kept trying to trick him with matter. They kept trying to trick him into saying that we serve two masters. And his was, we serve one master. We serve God. The rest of this stuff doesn't matter. It's a part of our toys. It's a part of our instruments. It doesn't matter. We serve God. This upset them a lot. And then a really smart priest said, okay, Jesus, okay, if the law of Moses is this, and you guys may not know this one, but it was in the laws, if a woman is married to a brother, and there's 7 brothers, and he dies, and they have no children, she is automatically married to the second brother in order to give an heir to the first one. Strange but true. And he said, and what if the second one dies with no heir? And then she marries the third one, and then no heir. And then she marries the fourth one, and he dies, and no heir. And then all the brothers are dead. She has no heir. When she goes to heaven, whose wife is she? Tricksty, isn't it? Tricksty question. Because now we're dealing with still material stuff, but now we've put it into heaven. Yeah. Now what's going to happen, Jesus? I got you. And Jesus, now he leaves them with a deeper truth. He speaks to them from his heart. Death is not the end. And in death, men and women do not make bonds to procreate the race like they do here. It is different. You are like angels. You are one with God. It is different. And then he spends several beautiful verses talking to them about what heaven is. It's not that he's being mean to them the whole way. He's offering whatever they'll take. You ask about heaven? You open the door. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you heaven. This is where the beauty of God is. This is where we are in a different space. And they got madder. So, one man, and he's the honest scribe, stood forward and said, this is all on the same day. We're talking with priests. One man said, Rabbi, I think you're from God. What is the greatest commandment? And Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And upon those 2 commandments lie all the laws of the prophets. Love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. And the man said to him, I believe you. And Jesus said to him, you are in the kingdom, and the kingdom is in you. And you remember what kingdom means? It's counsel. You are in the counsel of God, and the counsel of God is in you. You are living in a different space than all these guys I've been talking to, because you can hear the word love, because you can feel love. And he didn't say, now you need to leave these people because they're really bad. He didn't say you need to give up the Jewish faith. He didn't tell him to do any of that. He just said, you're in that space. Good. Stay there. Do you hear what I'm saying? He wasn't there to condemn, judge. He was there to open and to hopefully embed some love in spaces that had been loveless, because he was a faithful Jew. He was a faithful Jew at that time. All right. Anyway, we know they got really, really, really mad, and then he ends the day by telling everyone who was listening, call no man father. And that was just the tip. That was nothing, no. They all called them, priests were all fathers. And he said to the people, call no man father, you have no father on earth, your father is in heaven. Call no man father. And that sealed it right there. The rage was complete. And the planning began. And Jesus knew it had to begin. He knew it had to begin. So he sat, and I've always wondered why he did this. After they're so mad at him, so mad, he goes over and sits by the treasury. And I always wonder, why did he do that? Because I know he's mad. I know Jesus is mad too. Jesus is not going, oh, yay. He's going, this is hard. This is hard. This is hard. They're hard. Okay, hold the light. I know he's doing that. But he's watching the treasury. He's watching people come and give of their tithes and offerings. You know that story. See all these stories all crunched in one day? One day. And all the men are giving of their abundance. But when you give your tithe and offerings, from what I understand, is pompous and circumstantial. And you go, oh, yes, here's my beautiful donation. And it's good. And you're proud. And the widow, he saw a widow come over and put a farthing in. Just a widow. And Jesus said, she has done far more than all those other men, because she gave of all she had. In doing that, she was saying living in her faith in God. I have faith in God. These other guys probably didn't miss any of that tithe that they were giving. They were wealthy. But that little woman, and he honored her, and he left the temple. He honored her and he left the temple, and he went outside Jerusalem. And I don't know if he cried again. I think he did. And he said, it could have been different, but I will not speak anymore. It could have been different. And that was his last teachings to the people and his last interaction with the priest until he was arrested. Can you see the humanness in it? But can you see him holding the divinity as he walked? It's really from a retrospect, when we're looking at it. When you just pick divine dip, you go, whoa, Jesus, that's pretty heavy, pretty strong. But when you're looking at it and you know this is it, it's probably very kind. Because we know what he did when he ascended, don't we? When he ascended and came back and was visiting people, he went back to the temple in a body they could see. First he disguised himself, and they said, you know, who are you? And he said, well, I'm looking for that fisherman you guys talked about. And they said, oh, he's gone, we killed him. And then he let them see him, and he said, no, I'm the fisherman. And they were shocked, and they were scared. All the priests that had plotted to have him killed. And you know what he said to them? Peace, peace, goodwill to men. And then he disappeared. He didn't want to hurt them. He wanted to wake them up. And perhaps the conversations that he had on that Tuesday with them set the foundation for them to really hear him when he came back on that last moment. To say, no, I don't judge you. Peace. All right. So that was Tuesday. I'll be very brief about Wednesday. Maybe. Wednesday was with his disciples. Wednesday, it's like, okay, I've done all I can. Now I have to download into these guys, the 12. He took the 12 into a sacred space, and they meditated for 7 hours. 7 hours in the energy, 7 hours getting prepared. There's no more time. And it says that he opened to them the meaning of the hidden ways, the power and the secrets of the masters. He opened all of this to them. And then he taught them how to teach the people. And these are the two things that I wanted to talk to you about. The two things he asked them to teach the people. In addition to love God, in addition to all these things, but for them and their preparation. You know, we have the Beatitudes, we have all the instructions of behavior modification, we have all of that. But he said, teach the people to pray and not to faint. Stay in the energy of God, love, no matter what is happening around you. Stay in the energy, just like the parables. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. It does matter. It matters, it matters, it matters. Stay in the energy. Don't faint. If you love and you're going to invest your energy into being spiritually minded and heartfelt, be it always. Even when things outside look different. And how often do we do our prayer and meditation and we still today forget to include God? I love it when people call me out on that. I love it when people go, Cindy, God's got this. Oh, yeah. Cindy, don't say what you're saying. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Our human nature is strong. Our human nature and how we're trained to speak and be is matter-faced. It's not spirit-based. It's looking at matter. I love it if y'all call me out. I will love you for that. Because I want to change, to be more awake and aware of the words coming out of my mouth. Pray. Be prepared. And he would always say, be prepared for when your Lord comes. Be prepared for when your Lord comes. And here's the base metaphysics of this. The vibration that you currently hold allows you to receive the blessings that match it. There was a great teacher a while back who said you're as happy right now as you can be right now. Because the vibration you're holding cannot hold anymore. So you literally need to be prepared for greater. For greater. You know those downloads, when you get the download, it's like, oh, God, thank you. Oh, I love it. You can feel God, and it's like, oh, manna from heaven. And there's times when you can't get a download to save your life. Why? Because the energy within Cindy at that time can't handle it yet. Do you hear? So for us to vibrate and to continually open for the blessings and open for the greater, so that when it comes, we can receive it. When we can feel our higher self stronger, we can receive it. Remember, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about becoming a vessel in which the Christ I am can express. If I'm mad, knotted, blah, 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 my Christ can't come through. And when my Christ comes through, is that not when the Lord is in me? Is that not when the Lord comes? This isn't a great, huge second coming. There may be one, but this he's talking about your Lord. He says your Lord, not me, your Lord. When your higher self can be fully manifest in you. Do I sound like I'm preaching? And then he speaks, he says, teach them this as well. Teach them that when the end comes of their life, there is a book of life. And they will know exactly what they have done. Nobody will judge them. They will know. And that's when he does the parable of the sheep on the right and the goats to the left. Those who loved me, and they will say, we never loved you, we didn't even know you. Yeah, but you loved your fellow man, and you loved God, and you loved me. You were serving me. You see? So those who live the life will know the blessings. Those who did not will go back to school. Because they're ultimately children of God, aren't they? We're not losing anybody here. Just know that. You can take your time getting there, but we're not losing anybody. Okay. Those are the two things that he said, please, please, please teach your people this. How simple would that be? Okay, number one, stay connected with God. Don't let matter throw you. And number two, at the end, you'll really understand that it is a game of spirit, not a game of matter. Love the Lord your God. Love your neighbor as yourself. You are in a spirit world, people. Those are keys. And he gave it to the disciples to give to his people. All right. Very last thing. That night, and I only share this because I like her a lot. That night he had dinner, remember? And so Mary, Martha, and Lazarus are there. They're wealthy people, and they're related actually to Jesus. And they're siblings. And Mary has the expensive oil, and she puts it on Jesus' feet. She's anointing him. This is Wednesday night. He is going to be arrested tomorrow. And Judas says, what a profligate you are. Don't even know what that means, but it's not nice. And he got Peter and the rest of the disciples all rallied up. She is wasting money. We could have sold that and given it to the poor. Judas, we're 2 days away. We're 1 day away. Stop. Stop it. Stop. Our focus on matter, our focus on material, our focus on thinking things without looking at the spirituality behind it. How many of us would be willing to take that expensive thing? Of course, we know Jesus now. Well, yeah, we would. Oh, heck yeah. But we're on the rest of the story. They were the prequel to the story. He's their master, their teacher. And he said, what did he say? Famous words. Patrick says it all the time. You have the poor with you always. She is anointing me for my hour of death. And he says the gospel will not be preached anywhere in the world that her story is not told. The feminine, the divine feminine, honoring the Christ in a way that the boys could not understand. I think she marked the culmination of his journey. I think the anointing of the oil, which traditionally we don't understand how rich and fabulous that was a gift. That was in their culture. That was a gift. And I don't think that we fully understand the depth of it. But it was the last act for him before the next day, which was Passover. And it marks the affirmation that she understood, that the intuition of all mankind was touched. Not just her, but the men. The intuition was touched and was giving back. So that is our journey to on the last week. And we can see that it's not over for him as he goes through Gethsemane and has to lower his frequency in order for them to actually hold him. He has to lower his frequency. There's a lot that he has to do on a physical level. But up until this moment, he is now complete. That's a marking of the completion of the journey. He tries to download more into the disciples, but of mankind, that is the completion. So Spirit asked me to ask you this. Do you believe Spirit can heal? That was the first thing that he taught people. Spirit can heal. Can you stay faithful to what you believe while living in a world of matter? Can we do that? And if you can't, hold on to somebody. I always tell, phone a friend. I say, have somebody in your phone that knows Reiki and knows how to pray with you and knows how to hold you up. Get people with you, you know? My phone's full of you guys. Can you live as if all is spirit? That's tough. That's tough. When things happen in the physical world, it's like, oh no, why'd that happen? Well, if you really stop and listen to the answer, you'll get it. But in that moment, we're attached to not wanting that to happen. That shouldn't happen. I did that yesterday. I felt very mortal. Very mortal. My mortal came out. That shouldn't have happened. Why is that happening? Instead of going, okay, God, why is that happening and what can I do to participate to heal it? I was doing the frantic prayers, not empowered. Do you understand the difference? Not empowered. And when you're hurting and you're attached to something, that's when you call a friend because they're not frantic. You call a friend because they're calm. Do you understand? Okay. Can you love your fellow man as your brother? Which means, can you see them as child of God, and can you allow them the choices that they are making without judgment? I see you as God's child, and woo, road you've chosen. Not mine. Good luck out there. You know, when you're on my path, we'll get together, but I am not going to go over there. So we love each other without judging the choice. If we can say yes to those things, believing in spirit, to heal, staying faithful when the world is not, and living as if all is spirit, there is a spiritual meaning behind everything. And then having the humility of the widow, the humility of the widow's mite, where she included God in her matter. If you can do that, you are absolutely in the kingdom, and the kingdom is in you. Say yay, God. Yeah. All right, let's go within. So let's just breathe. Father, Mother God, we ask that your infinite love engulf us. And I ask that the words that were shared this morning just move into a semblance of blessing for all who hear. And I would invite each one of you just to feel your heart center and feel your love for Jesus the Christ. And just ask him to join you in a beautiful column of light over you. Feel his love for mankind. And you can see the tears he cried at one point. You can see his joys. And you can see his divinity. And Jesus Christ, we thank you so for creating this path that we can follow of becoming divine, of healing. Take his hand and feel your own heart. Feel that beautiful light within you. You are a child of God. I am child of God, and all is right in my world. Send a blessing of love out to the corners of your consciousness. And Father, Mother God, we thank you for this moment, and we thank you that we are lifted now into a higher realm where we can walk one with Spirit. And we are grateful. And so it is. And breathe, and you can gently open your eyes. Now you have walked to the edge of the transformation of Christendom. Christendom hasn't even begun yet, historically, but we're at the beginning of it. And I know most of the time at church we talk about us today, 2,000 years later, how are we handling all of these things? And we're doing okay. We're going to take our C and move on. But as we're walking through this week, preparing for the Easter celebration next Sunday, we have a Good Friday service, communion. I want you to kind of think about, I can follow, I can hold the light, I can look for Spirit. And just let it be a gentle resolve within you to try. Say, yea, God.